Hi, welcome to the video, and I think that this is going to be a short series of videos of the things which I'm going to do to improve the way that the Tamiya MF01X Jimny functions. When I got this, I was kind of quite pleased with it. However, it seemed to be neither quite one thing nor the other. It was quite quick, but not terribly good off-road. So what I'm proposing to do to it is a series of, if you like, changes, modifications, upgrades, in order that it's more capable off-road. I have tried it slightly in the forest, and I found it to be surprisingly capable off-road. Obviously not with these wheels and tyres, and I've come to the conclusion that what I'd like to do is to make it waterproof, make it more capable of going off-road with its high gear ratio, which is roughly about 10:1, which you could compare with the CC01, which again has got quite a high gear ratio of about 15:1, and in order to get reasonable performance without the motor constantly binding up, I'm going to have to drop to a higher wind motor. The sort of travel on the suspension it's got isn't enough for me, so I'll just quickly go through the changes that I'm going to be wanting to make to it. The first thing, and I've already done this, is cut the body shell so that it's able to accommodate better travel for the wheels and tyres. But I'll just set out for you briefly the changes that I'm going to be making in these videos. So first of all, I'm going to be upgrading, or not upgrading, but changing to some larger wheels and tyres, and these are the RC four-wheel drive ones which I got, and having tried these, they're pretty good. They're not cheap, and the wheel diameter on them is 1.55 inches as opposed to the more standard 1.9s. Very pleased with those. The next thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to put waterproof servo in, because there is nothing more frustrating when a servo starts jittering when you're out in the forest, and you find that you've got a servo with water in it. Usually you can dry them out, but often they don't quite work the same. This servo here, the HS646WP from Hi-Tech, is generally my favourite servo to use in my off-road trucks. Now, one of the slight problems is that the Servo Saver in here, which comes with the kits, comes with adapters for, I think, Samwa, Tamiya, Futaba. However, because of the number of splines on the servo, the one thing that it won't fit is the standard Hi-Tech, which I think is 24 spline, whereas the two adapters that you get are, I think, 23 spline and 25, and it just doesn't work if you shove the wrong size on. In the end you get slippage. So what I'm hoping to do is to use this Kimbra Servo Saver, and this is the part number 122, and it's the large Servo Saver. And what I'm hoping to be able to do is use this Hi-Tech servo with this servo trimmed out, Servo Saver trimmed down either that way or that way. I haven't quite figured it out yet. So that's the next part. having a waterlogged receiver isn't that much fun either, because I want to be able to run this car through the streams and in wet boggy areas. So I'm going to be putting this Hobbywing Quick Run 1060 brushed speed controller in. They're quite cheap. I found them to be quite powerful. What I have noticed with this Tamiya speed controller, which is the one which came with the car, which is a TBL02S, this one here. First of all, it's not waterproof, and secondly, I'm not convinced that it can handle the ampage terribly well, because the motor seems to stop quite easily. So I'll be seeing how that goes. On the motor itself, I'm going to be going to an 80 turn rebuildable thrust Answer motor. Again, not terribly expensive, but that's what I've been using in the CC01, and that's been pretty good. For the receiver, I'm going to be swapping out the one which I've got, and I'm going to be putting in a Spectrum SR201. The good thing about these is that they are water resistant, so again, when you're out on a run and you get a wet receiver, yes, it will dry out, but that's the end of your run that day. And in order to get a bit more travel on the suspension and a better ride, I've already put the mini shocks in, but these springs are pretty hard, and so I'm going to be trying either the soft springs or maybe medium springs. I'm going to be experimenting with these to see if I can get a better ride. I've already locked up the rear differential, and in order to do that, I've just inserted an extra planetary gear, a spare one from one of the CC01s. There are a number of ways of looking up the differential, and I'll stick a link or two in the bottom of this post. And for the front, I've left the differential open, but what I've done is I've filled the differential with a very thick red grease. I think it's called rubber grease or something. I'll try and find out what the name of it is, and that's pretty good, because under load, rather than just spinning in the air with a free wheel, there is sufficient viscosity in the differential to give a limited diff impact, and to pull yourself out of the mud without the loss of steering that you get if you do lock up the front differential. So with that, that's the end of the introduction. I'm trying to think if there's anything. Oh yeah, I probably ought to mention a couple of modifications which I have done that make a difference. The first one is that this arm here actually hits onto the chassis, and if I just take it off a moment, it will come off. There we go. You may be able to see that I've slightly trimmed out the chassis. I've also trimmed off the bottom of this ball joint here, in order that I can achieve more travel. Without that, the rear wheel on this side won't drop as far as the other side, which is quite frustrating. The other thing which I've done, let's put this back, There we go. So the other thing which I've done is I've got a piece of plastic card here which measures 5 centimeters tall and 2 centimeters wide, with some holes and some tie wraps, and I use that to give the rear body mounts a little bit of stability, because otherwise the body moves all over the place. And I think that that's about it. So on to the next video, where I think that I'm going to start by dealing with the servo. Thank you for watching.